The small matter of the final domestic Group 1 of the season, though, is the William Hill Futurity. It's run at Doncaster on Saturday at 2:40. And here is the betting as it stands. Delacroix, the winner of the Autumn Stakes, 3-1 to take the step up in grade in his stride for Aidan O'Brien and Ballydor. Wimbledon Hawkeye, the Royal Lodge winner, 7-2. Detain, could be anything, 5-1. Hot as Hell, quite experienced in the context of this race, 11-2. Matari Bay, another lightly race type, 7-1. As is Anno Domini, 8-1. Seaplane, 12s. The supplemented Neighbours at 14-1. Royal Playwright, 20-1. Apples and Bananas, another who is taking the step up, at 20-1. Tennessee Stud 33s with Trinity College, and Sea Cruiser 33-1. It's 40s bar those. Let's start with Delacroix because he is a very interesting type. Martin, I'll start with you. This is his win in the Autumn Stakes. Was only 2 weeks ago. Well, will be 2 weeks ago by Saturday's renewal of the Futurity. And I thought, ride-wise, Ryan Moore, he never really. I thought he had this one a fair way out, and he's just keeping him up to his work all the way to the line.
Yeah, I think Ryan knew the horse was going to find more and he was going to win, and he's all hands and heels. But I think the horse is drifting off the stands rail and hanging right, and Ryan knows if he picks his whip up, he could be in trouble because he's only going to win by a short margin, and he'd rather get the job done without causing interference. It was a likeable performance. I thought he really knuckled down and won well, and there's more there. It was hands and heels, but he was lugging right. I think it'd be better for the experience having come down the hill at Newmarket. I think that will really bring him on, so we could see much more when he lines up at Doncaster on Saturday. Profile-wise,
Rachel, he is, like plenty of these, as you'd expect, to line up in the William Hill Futurity. We're looking at horses who are only going to get better as they age.
Yeah, and being a son of Dubawi and a son of Tepin, both got much better when they got older. Tepin particularly, fine wine, and she was not flash. She was absolutely guts and just gave it out. And I see that a lot in Delacroix. He's never going to do anything flashy. He's just going to grind it out. But there's a level that I saw a lot of his mom at Newmarket. I even saw a lot of his mom Leopardstown 2 starts ago when he got beat in the Juvenile Champions over the mile at Leopardstown. So I like him. If there's some proper flash in here, it's going to be one of the lesser experienced ones like your Detains or your Nebras that we don't know a lot about, that's just going to come up with the proper turn of foot and go forward, because he's just going to be an absolute high-class grinder. But if you look in the past, sometimes those are the horses that actually win this race. So, I mean, for me, he'd be the horse that I'd have a bet on. Obviously, we'd have to see who's on him, if he's the only one, who else is running, etc. But I think he's a solid favourite right now.
We have kind of have a handle on conditions and what they might be. It's not necessarily going to be the bog of the last 2 years that we're running on. It's dry enough in the lead up to the meeting. I think heavy ground the last 2 years. Yes,
and that will suit him because he's got a good form on good to soft and good, and also more important, particularly at Newmarket for that meeting 2 weeks ago. The Rolling Mile was used and abused, a bit loose, a bit cuppy. So he has the experience on that type of turf, and that's what you're going to need at Doncaster, particularly if there's no rain and it just keeps drying out between now and Saturday, because by then, yes, there's going to be a little bit of cut, but it's also going to be no turf, no roots, just fill. So he has the experience with that at Newmarket. That will stand him in much better stead than, say, some like Detain, who was absolutely brilliant on the all-weather here at Kempton, but we have no idea how he's going to handle the turf.
That is the question, isn't it? But the pedigree would suggest that a bit of cut in the ground, at least, is not going to deter him whatsoever. Let's see him in action, because both times that he's visited the track, they've been very impressive. The second time, even more so, Martin.
Yeah, 2 course and distance wins. Kempton over the 7, he did this so easy. Backing up with a penalty, travelled supremely well under Kieran Schumacher, and then when he asked him for an effort, look at this, really explosive turn of foot. He changed his leads in a minute, and he's just away. I mean, it was a really taking performance, wasn't it? When you watch his action, it doesn't strike you as a soft ground action, in my opinion. But Kieran was interviewed after this, and he said he will go on soft ground, not a problem. He's half brother to Arrest, who of course handled really soft ground and still does. He was second in the Grand Criterium in St. Cloud as a 2-year-old on heavy ground, and Kieran did say he's like his half-brother and he'll handle it, so they're very confident he will handle conditions if they go soft. I mean, it's still going to be on the easy side, isn't it? And in my experience, I always found Doncaster, it used to be a bog many years ago, without being rude, Doncaster, and it rides very holding and sticky and testing. And if the grass is long, it's really a holding type of soft ground. So yeah, he's got to prove that coming off the all-weather, but connections seemed really positive he would.
We will see. Those question marks were definitely around for Wimbledon Hawkeye when we saw him in the Royal Lodge. Prior to that, how exactly would he handle a bit of dig in the ground, Martin? Well, the answer was he passed with flying colours. Yeah,
he did, and you've got to love this horse. I think he's improved all season, really. He did well. He was second in the Acomb to line in the winter. He'd ran not far behind Ancient Truth, and I think he's probably better with a bit of a dig in the ground. He's got a bit of an action. He spreads his legs out in front. He gallops a bit like that Filly Attraction back in the day. But he's such a likeable horse, and he tried really hard, and he knuckled down. It was a good grinding performance. I thought this stands him in good stead for Saturday. I think there's very little in the way of questions he has to answer. He's seen out the mile well, handles the ground, and he's a solid horse at this level.
Yes, and he has a bit of pace. He can race up prominently. He's got a bit of early speed, and he travels really powerfully, which will allow James Doyle's already been jocked up on him. Will allow James to be able to have a very advantageous position and kind of cut off anybody who wants to close. What I still liked was at Newmarket, he still looked a bit babyish and green coming out of the dip. So there's still mentally a lot more that he can progress and move forward. And well, his daddy won the race, albeit up at Newcastle, but still, it's still the same race, still won it. So, I mean, Wimbledon Hawkeye was one of those that back in May, where we were doing all the last-minute 2-year-old races leading into Royal Ascot and this 28-to-1 yoke. Because, I mean, imagine what he looked like in May, because he's a really big, gawky, giraffe sort of horse. Came and just got the better of a well-bred, well-backed horse in Inget. And we're just going, well, that's a fluke. That's fine. Early 2-year-old. And then he came out at Newmarket and was third behind Ancient Truth, and then second behind the Lion in Winter, which you're going, well, he's just got beat by like next year's Coolmore Freak, fine. And then he goes and wins that, and you're like, as he's getting actually older, he's getting better. So considering that he was out in May, and most of these probably were barely even backed in May, he's done quite well to progress through. But then again, James Owen all season keeps making records, breaking records, keep moving up. So hopefully another one, first Group 1 for him.
Yeah, he's just knocked down pillar after pillar after pillar, has he? Yeah. A more established operation would be Godolphin in this. They are responsible for last year's winner in this, albeit on deeper conditions. And how do you think Anno Domini is going to fare, Martin?
I think he'll improve stepping up. He won over 6.5, and then he backed up here at Sandown over 7 furlongs. I thought this was a good performance, and it was officially good ground, but I thought it was a little bit on the easier side. But we just watch him here. He does come under pressure, and then he really responds well and keeps finding it. He's going to improve stepping up to a mile for Saturday. And to me, you'll just watch him quicken away in a minute. I think he's got a good attitude. It's not completely a flashy type of win, but he looks like he'll handle soft ground just from his action to me. Looks like a soft ground action. The horse he does beat here, the Juddmonte horse called Windlord, went on to finish third in the Beresford Stakes next time. Well, he actually won at York, and then he ran third in the Beresfords behind Hot as Hell. So he's got to improve a bit, Anno Domini, on this form, on the collateral form, but I think he will well do stepping up a furlong.
He still looked green there, didn't he?
Yeah.
When he was
still a baby, isn't
challenge.
It doesn't matter, but I was there, I was watching him at Sandown, and because it was the Friday of the Coral Eclipse meeting, and I remember thinking, it's like, well, this horse will next show up in the Solario Stakes, because it was just the way he just came up that hill. Sometimes you can just go, good race, and then sometimes it's like, no, that horse had that sort of that little bit of the back of your head going, you've watched enough races, that looked quite good. So it's intriguing to me that they've literally gone from maiden, novice, 2 months, Group 1. That's not normally, unless Charlie Appleby ships them to the States, that's not normally how this operation operates.
But none of them we've just looked at win it, though, by the way.
Go on.
Mattori Bay wins. 7-1, good price. Maturi Bay was closing second to Field of Gold in a Solaro Stakes of Sandown. He beat Royal Playwright by a length and a half that day. The same distance Wimbledon Hawkeye beat Royal Playwright in a Royal Lodge. And he's just going to improve. Maturi Bay is going to improve, stepping up to a mile. I think I've been looking forward to watching this horse run again. I think he wins.
Love that. Love that confidence. Martin Dwyer, Maturi Bay in the William Hill Futurity.